back to Cheap, Fast, and Healthy. I'm Maria and I'll be your instructor today. Today we're going to be making tuna salad sandwiches. Let's go over some ingredients. Today you're going to need 3 4-ounce cans of white albacore tuna, and it has to be in water. Next you're going to need 1 tablespoon of non-fat plain Greek yogurt rather than mayo. Next you're going to use 2/3 cup of finely chopped celery, 1/3 cup of finely chopped red onion, 2 teaspoons of dry parsley, 1 teaspoon of dried dill, half a teaspoon of pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and whole wheat bread. Some supplies you'll need for this recipe are a fork, a sharp knife, and a large mixing bowl. Before we get started, make sure to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with warm soapy water. Get around your wrists, between your fingers, and underneath your fingernails. After you've washed your hands, we're going to start preparing our ingredients. First, I'm going to finely chop celery. Before I chop it, I'm going to make sure to wash it very thoroughly. So you're going to start off by chopping off the head and the bottom of the celery. You can actually save the leaves and put it in like chili or something because they're very flavorful. Then you're going to cut it down the middle. And then I'm going to cut it once again down the middle of the middle. And then I'm going to make small chops because we want it to be small since it's a salad. Celery has a really low glycemic index, which makes your blood sugar steady for longer. So that's a really good benefit of
onion.
Next, we're going to finely chop our onion. So I'm just going to take the bottom off and the top off. And then I cut it down the middle so that when you are chopping it, you have a flat surface to cut on. Throw these away. Onions are loaded with antioxidants and actually have cancer-fighting compounds. They also have a lot of antibacterial properties. So I'm going to show you how I dice an onion. So I do a couple slits horizontally. And then I do a few cuts down this way, vertically. Make sure to tuck your fingers while you're cutting your onion so that you don't slip and hit your finger. And today I'm making smaller cuts so that it's more finely chopped. And then I'm going to cut vertically this way now. Once again, making a lot smaller cuts than usual. Next, I'm going to open my tuna, but first I'm going to wash off the tops of the cans to get rid of any bacteria or germs that could be on them, and that's really important to do right now because of COVID and everything that's going around. Next, I'm going to try to drain out as much water as possible out of the tuna so that when I add my other ingredients, it doesn't get so sloppy. Next, I'm going to grab a bigger bowl and I'm going to put my tuna in it. Next, I'm going to grab a fork and lightly break it up because I don't want it to get too mushy because we'll be mixing in our other ingredients later. So I'm going to lightly break this up. Tuna is really high in protein, which is really good for boosting your metabolism, and it makes you stay really full and satiated for longer. So it might be a good option for somebody to make this recipe if they're going to work or something, because it keeps you going throughout the day a lot longer. So I like to eat this recipe sometimes around lunch just because. Next, you're going to add your non-fat Greek yogurt to your tuna. The reason why I chose to do non-fat Greek yogurt instead of mayo is because mayo is really high in unhealthy fats, and non-fat Greek yogurt has a lot of antibiotics, and it's cultured, so it's probiotic and it's really good for your gut health. So I'm just gonna take a tablespoon of that and add it, and then I'm gonna lightly mix it in. Once again, don't break it up too much, because your tuna will begin to get mushy if you mix it too much. Next, I'm gonna add in my onion and celery that we finely diced earlier. And once you get that in, you can give it another mix, just really quickly. Next, I'm gonna add my parsley, my salt, my pepper, and my dill. And all of this is actually dried, so. And then I'm gonna give it one last mix. This time you can be a little more aggressive with your mixing. So a reason why I only put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in is you should really watch the amount of sodium that you're putting in your diet, because the RDA recommends about 2,400 milligrams of sodium a day, and most Americans are consuming 3,500. So definitely try to watch your salt intake. Next, we're gonna toast our bread. If you have a toaster, so we are gonna be putting it on the stove. I'm going to be using whole wheat bread today, which is packed with nutrients such as protein and fiber, which is a really good alternative to using white bread. So I'm just gonna toast it on each of the bread slices for a couple minutes, and then I'll be back to assemble. Okay, next I'm just gonna assemble it. This recipe is really good for somebody who might be following like a pescatarian diet, which is kind of a diet where you mainly eat fish and like vegetables and fruits, and you tend to avoid meats like red meat and other land animals. And it's a really good diet if you're trying to avoid like inflammation, and it lowers your risk for heart disease and other, like cancers, and it's a really good diet to follow. I tried it one summer and I noticed that my skin actually cleared up, and yeah, I really like it, so might be something that you might want to look into. I'm putting about a 1/3 cup of this on, and it's on my toasted wheat bread. And then I'm just gonna put the top on, and then I'm gonna cut it in half. And there you have it. Thanks so much for joining us on this week's episode of Cheap, Fast, and Healthy. If you make this recipe, remember to tag us on any social media at UND Wellness. Also remember to check out our YouTube account at UND Wellness. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.